Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome to today's video where we are going to be listening to The Great Bailout by Moor Mother. This is the recently released Moor Mother album. I have followed some of her work in the past, however, it has been a minute since I have listened to a full-length album from her. From what I remember, the last album I heard from her was Analog Fluids of Sonic Black Holes from 2019. It's been that long, really. Never got around to listening to some of her other albums, such as Brass. I know that is one that I definitely do want to get around to, given the Billy Woods collab there. But here we are with her latest album, The Great Bailout, which has a really nice, eerie, disturbed cover. If you're unfamiliar with Moor Mother, her music is a little bit more industrial in tone, darker, more brooding, and certainly has a more disturbed and twisted atmosphere in a sense. But with 9 songs and 42 minutes in length, let's not waste any more time and jump right into this thing with the first track, entitled Guilty. Right off the bat, the kind of shimmery, gentle piano keys. I like is that an organ or some sort of harmonious tone in the background there? I can't quite place it. Really nice, almost like operatic sort of singing here. Very deep regimen as she, the vocalist here sings about slave ships, slavery. Themes of race, a typical sort of trait within Moor Mother's music. Getting right to the politics. And almost 10 minutes is a very atmospheric, slow-building track. Seems fairly methodical. Very just haunting delivery all around. But I love the very gentle, kind of Eastern tone to the instrumental. Quite tranquil, despite the lyrics seeming quite brutal and blunt. I really like the layering in this track so far. Just a lot slowly being added on very gradually throughout the 9 minutes. But it certainly is a grower of a track. This is not one that is an instantly gratifying piece. Oh. Some of the instruments sound like they're being played in reverse too. I didn't even catch that. Very manipulated production. Not sure who the vocalist is on that one. But that was a very interesting opener. I'll say that. At 10 minutes, it's slow, it's gradual, it's eerie, it's very atmospheric more than anything else, I would argue. But I can't quite discern the lyrics, given that there are no lyrics here. This is a fairly new and also niche album that we're checking out today. And, I can't describe the lyrics, nor even if I had them here, would I probably be able to dissect them, given the very political nature that is most likely tied to race, and not something that I personally am one to comment on, for obvious reasons. But does not mean I can't check it out and appreciate it. So today we're going to check out All the Money. We're going to continue. This is the second track. Oh, right into this heavy, kind of banging atmosphere. There are lyrics to this one. Oh boy. God, those whispering, harsh vocals there too. Oh. Like moans of pain or like London Bridge. Really great claustrophobic atmosphere on the first 2 tracks already. Matches the album cover, that's for sure. Very like tribal, the masks and such. It's about capitalism and control, perhaps. It's not the kind of music you play on a first date Trying to impress a woman, that's for sure. Unless she's a very politically driven human being. A protester, maybe. God, oh. Those like the twisted singing in the background there. Very operatic. I love that. Here's God Save the Queen. Going into kind of a trap beat over top. There's horns coming in. A little bit of jazzy instrumentation. Very experimental in her approach. She doesn't shy away from her creative vision. That's for sure. Because she mixes quite a bit within each track. And this one's no different. You've got like a trap influence. You've got a jazzy sort of what sounds like a trumpet. You've got her political commentary on the background. And I think also some synths in there. Those skittering hi-hats. Kind of like the way she plays around with them in the production. I'll say this, I love the production of the album. Cannot stress that enough. The eerie, claustrophobic, yet clean instrumentals have been quite nice and complimentive to one another, despite the very differing directions. But next we've got Compensated Emancipation. Let's roll right into the next one.
Why am I here?
I wonder the same thing sometimes.
Why am I here?
Got a bit of a existential crisis, perhaps.
Out of cotton pants.
She's very spoken word, almost slam poetry sort of delivery. I love that long, drawn-out horn in the background. It sounds like a horn, but it could be that one thing that people spin. I forget the name of it.
Choking in the house of common death and deeds. Choking.
She's got passion. Gotta give her that. The passion is there. I'm really digging those backup vocals, I will say. And oh, this like alien swirling helicopter choppiness too is a nice effect. I really do love this atmosphere that's being developed. Wow. It's like these things just get more and more brooding as they go. Death by Longitude is this one. I think my favorite thing about completely unrelated new albums is seeing the drop off in listeners as it goes along. I think it says a lot about people's consumption of albums. What is this, like ASMR? Like, am I inside of a dog's mouth right now, chewing on a dog bone? That's what it sounds like.
What do we say in Jamaica?
I feel like I'm being possessed. Hold on. What a jump scare. Jesus. It's been a while since I've heard an album this directly eerie. Oh, that like awoken some in me. I feel like I got goosebumps all over my body right now. A very effective artist. And I use artist specifically here. Kind of reminds me of Matmos, the way she kind of utilizes sounds to make a beat. This is one of those ones that I don't know what to say. I mean, this is a purely physical sort of release. It's got such a emotionally you know, instinctually primal tone to it. Like that screaming, that squealing in the background there. Everything kind of feels like a natural burst of creative passion, and yet none of it feels manufactured or forced. This is certainly an album that I think, as time goes on with more listens, it'll only grow on me with just its raw energy. But certainly one that will keep in the headphones only. I will not play this around the guys or the gals, that's for sure. I like that one. I like that one a lot. I'm loving the atmosphere. Above all else, like I've said, we're going right to My Soul's Being Anchored. This one's only 1:13 long. Also reminds me of this one here, Eraserhead. It's a very desolate atmosphere. Under these clanging, what sounds like strings, you hear a faint, almost like baby's cry, or oh. And then we've got like an old-fashioned phonogram. Huh. Good little instrumental piece. Again, focused entirely on atmosphere. We're going right to Liverpool Wins is this one. What's August 28th, 13?
August 1st, 1834.
Slavery Abolition Act. Well, there you go. Slavery, a very consistent theme so far throughout the album. I think this is an album about liberation, about freedom, about the fight for black power. Very direct attack on the British government, and I believe the royal family in a way. I wonder how much of this was meticulously put together and how much of it was more improv from a pure spiritual standpoint. Because it's got a certain authenticity that feels very much almost like a first take. A very emotive sort of expression. Alright, next we're going into South Sea. That was an interesting one. Good, again, lots of themes of, you know, slavery, perhaps speaking on today's nature of race and being a slave to society in a sense still. However, in a different sense than it was back then. A much less literal sense nowadays, more metaphorical, yet still prominent. But this is South Sea at 9 minutes.
Keep ourselves tethered to the narrative. When and where do the ancestors
The vocals in the
speak
background
for themselves?
have like a old traditional blues tone to them. Oh god, it feels like such a culturally specific sort of performance here.
If you are still breathing, you should.
Maybe this is a concept album of sorts of
When the white man
slavery,
declares himself science,
of
he
a
is
time
no
past.
longer human.
Maybe a historically
The
concept
sound
album.
of everything at once, the sound.
Really nice flute playing. Could be Andre 3000 for all we know. Seems to be appearing in quite a few upcoming jazz releases that I'm sure I will cover on this channel, but that's a side thing. Okay. Really beautiful performances from the flute player and whatever this other bizarre instrument is. It's very ambient in tone. If you stripped back some of the more eerie elements of this LP, you'd have a really beautiful collage of jazz, you know, motifs and such. It seems like the jazz influence is quite strong on this one, which I like. Not to discredit anything else, of course, but it is the part that's grabbing out to me the most. not a flute. Maybe it was a saxophone all along.
Around the world with each visit.
A horn instrument.
Look what they do to the
Call me a
brightest
fool.
minds. On ships of antiquity.
Oh, love that descent there. Beautiful. Seems like a call to her ancestrals, her roots. And here we are, Spam and Allium is the last one here. A short 50-minute track, or 50-second track, I should say. Again, kind of closing it out with this dark, brooding, claustrophobic tone that has dominated most of the LP. Very industrial, twisted, very tribal, while at the same time kind of feeling a little bit futuristic. There it is, just a instrumental piece to end the album. Okay, and that's it. And wrapping things up, I just want to say, this is not an album that I was able to grasp a lot lyrically from, other than some very loose themes of slavery, of Britain's sort of, I guess, control over perhaps the slave trade, of I'm assuming the past, given some of the dates that I showed in the video. I went back and checked because I wasn't sure what she was speaking on, the abolition of slavery, and very poetic in nature, kind of a almost slam poetry type delivery. It is very blunt, it is very in your face, yet at the same time it's quite cryptic in some of its meaning, and would require more listens for sure to really get a full grasp on. And a nice lyric page would help as well. But given that this is quite a new release, I did not expect that. But I'm sure the more I dive into the lyrics, the more I will get out of this. It seems very rich and dense in its delivery, which I expect no less from Moor Mother. She is very talented when it comes to her lyricism, but she's also talented with the production and the atmosphere of her albums, and this one is certainly no exception. It is dark, it is brooding, it is claustrophobic, it is industrial, just like we come to expect, but it has a nice jazz twist as well. A lot of these have a very jazz-focused sort of backbone to them, which, kind of teases in and out some of the tracks, and I think provides a sense of, I guess, accessibility up against some of these more harsh backdrops. It's still complementive of one another, and that's what I like a lot. It has a very nice atmosphere overall. And I thought this was actually a fairly quick listen. It was 42 minutes, but it felt shorter to me, perhaps because there is a 10-minute track and a 9-minute track. They kind of fill a large gap of time within the album. But they never felt too long. I felt kind of interested and intrigued at the direction that every track was going in. So, yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid release in terms of just keeping my attention. Now, as time goes on, this will either grow on me greatly, I feel like, or I will completely forget about it, which is not a slight at the album. It's more of just a personal thing. Usually how these kind of experimental albums tend to go, I feel like they either grasp you for the long term, or they only get you for a little while, and you kind of move on to the next. But The Great Bailout, Moor Mother, pretty solid album. Just on a first listen, it was, at the very least, like I said, an interesting one. But that does it for today's video. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along in listening to albums alongside myself. We are doing currently Metal March, where we are listening to different metal albums throughout the month of March. And we are also doing, of course, new releases on and off throughout the month. Whatever catches my eye and seems interesting to me, I will listen to and, do a reaction here. So again, subscribe if that seems interesting to you. And as always, my name is Randy Joe. That does it for this video, and I'm signing off.